Okay, hey there, Spacefish here, and today I'm going to show you how to make a simple iTunes controller using the iTunes API. It was kind of hard. I made a different app using this, and there isn't a lot of documentation on it online, so I thought I'd make a video to just show you some real simple functionality you can get out of using their type library. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new project, Windows Form application. We're going to call it iTunes app, and alrighty. Creating the project. First thing we're going to do is create the user interface. So I'm going to take two panels. One is going to be for our currently playing information. Oh, sorry. So it's going to have, the artist name, the album name, the song name, and the current volume. And then we're going to get another panel down here, and this panel is going to hold our buttons. So we're going to have a button that helps us play, pause, and a few other things. So let's go ahead and create these buttons. So first button we'll have here, we'll change the name, or the text rather, to play, change the name to button play, and then we're going to create, copy, paste it, and create another button. This is going to be a pause button, so we'll call it button pause, change the text to say pause. Next we're going to copy and paste and do another button. This one is going to be our previous track button, and I'll signify that with two left arrows. So button previous track. I'll copy and paste this again. This will be our next track button. So button next track, and we'll just flip those arrows here. Alright, next we're going to have a button for volume up, and we'll make that a little peak. And we'll have right here button vol up. And then one more button we're going to have for volume down. There's all sorts of functionality you can get, but this is just kind of simple on what we'll be using for this one. Okay. So those are our buttons. Let's close this panel a little bit, make it a little more manageable. Can move the panel around, do whatever we want with it. Put it like that. Yeah, let's give it a little buffer room up here. Or not. Or not. Alright, let's leave it as is. And there we go. Okay, now we need 4 labels. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll kind of space these out a little bit. And these are going to signify, or hold the variables rather, and show us what we have for our first is going to be for the artist's name. The next is going to be for the album name. Next is going to be for the song name. And the last one's going to show us what our volume's at. And again, you can use different things. There's, so, beats per minute, the bit rate, all sorts of other stuff you can get. But for right now, we're just going to do these for the example. Okay, so we should be good to go on this. Let's change our form name to iTunes app, just so it looks a little nicer. And next, let's just take a look at the code. First thing we're going to have to do is use, or make a reference rather, to the iTunes type library. You do that by going over here, right-clicking, going to Add, Reference, make sure you're in COM, Type Libraries, scroll down to iTunes, iTunes Type Library, click the checkbox, click OK. And you'll now see that you have a access or a reference to iTunes lib. So now you can do using iTunes lib, and that is what we're going to use for our reference library. So first thing we're going to do is create a object, an instance of the object for the iTunes app. So let's go ahead and do iTunes app equals new iTunes app. And there we have our object for iTunes app. So that is good. Next, let's create our variables. So we'll create a public string for my artist. We'll create a public string for my album, public string my song, and a public int for the volume, because that's a number instead of a string. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and add, we're going to go back to our form, and we're actually going to add a timer. So just go to timer, drag it over, put it anywhere on your form, and that will give you your timer. Double click on your timer so we can go right to the code for the timer. And now we're going to create an object for our track. So IITT RACK for iTrack. My track is what we'll call the object. Make it equal to app.current track. So this is going to hold all the information for our object containing our current track information. So we're going to make an if statement, and we're going to say if my track is equal to null, so if nothing is playing, we'll have this come out. So we'll say my artist is equal to artist none selected, my album equal to album none selected, my song equal to song none selected. And then we'll have our volume equal to what it should be, which is app.soundVolume. And we'll have the actual label, volume, equal to what it should be. So we'll just do volume because it's a string. Okay, so that is our if statement. Oh, sorry. I need to do, since this is a label, you need to do .text to change the text of the label. Alright, and now we'll have our else statement. The else statement will have it gather our actual variables. So my artist is equal to my track.artist. My album is equal to my track.album. My song is equal to my track, and this one actually is under name, so it's going to be my track.name. And lastly, alright, no, that's it for our else statement. Okay, and then outside of the if-else statement, we're going to set our label text. So we're going to set artist.text equal to my artist. Whoops. Album.text equal to my album. Song.text equal to my song. And then lastly, again, we're going to add the volume text equal to volume. And again, we make cast to string because we need to make it converted from an integer to a string. Okay, so this should be good just to show us what is currently playing in iTunes. So let's go ahead and build that and see what it looks like. So I actually have iTunes already open right now. Got Daydream Farmer by Twiddle. And let's see if that worked. So nothing is playing right now. Oh, what's wrong? You know what? We didn't turn on our timer. So whenever you create a new timer, you always need to remember to do this. Go over to timer, and by default, enabled is set to false, which means your timer is already off by default. So go ahead and let's just have this running from the get-go. So that's set to true. Okay, now let's rebuild that. There we go. So it's showing Twiddle. This is the artist, album, song, and we can go ahead and press play. If we switch the song, you see the song switches, album switches. If you want to play a different artist. Okay, so that's pretty good, but we need to have, let's see, we want to have functionality to our buttons, and let me actually see why the volume didn't work. Let's see. App does sound volume, yeah. That is odd. Maybe we needed to initialize. So let's initialize the volume just from the get-go. So what we're going to do is just create this volume equal to app.soundVolume, and then label volume.text equal to volume. Let's see if that works now. There we go. Okay, now our volumes is set. Okay, so now the really easy part, now that we have the information processing through, let's make our buttons actually have functionality. You'll see this is literally as easy as it gets. So let's double click on play. All we need to do is cast the object app, since that's where our iTunes object is, and then cast play. And that is all we're going to have to do for the play button. Pause button is going to be very similar. Previous track, again, very similar, very simple. Next track. Now the volume up is going to be a little more involved, but not very complicated. So we're going to have volume equal to app.sound volume, which we already know. Then we're going to have app.sound volume equal to volume, in this case +5, because we're going to increase it. And you can change that number to whatever you want. If you want the button to increment your sound by more, just change it to 10, 15, however you'd like. And then we're going to put that into the label so that we see it updated. And then we're actually going to copy and paste, or copy this, and then we're going to paste it into our down volume. The only thing we're going to change is this to a minus, because this is the button for bringing your volume down. Okay, and with that, we basically are done. Let's go ahead and press play, and I will, or rather start, and I will show you how this works now. So we don't even need to maximize this, my iTunes now. Just know iTunes is open, and I'm going to go ahead and press play. But look at that, it works. Volume goes up, volume goes down. Next track. Takes us to the next track. Previous track. Pause. Play. And there you have it. Thanks for checking it out. If you have any questions, this was kind of difficult to put together just because there isn't a lot of great documentation on the type library online. The actual API documentation is hosted by a random dude who just, I guess decided that he needed to take it upon himself to host this information because we weren't able to get it anywhere else. So that was very helpful. So I'll post a link to that at the end of this video. Otherwise, I appreciate you taking the time to watch my video. If you have any questions, feel free to write them in the comment section. Feel free to subscribe, and you have a good night.